Happy St. Patty's Day, everybody. This is going to be a really good one today. We got some acrylic painting we're going to be doing, and let me tell you what, this is going to be awesome because that's my favorite is acrylic. So we're going to even spice it up a little bit with some airbrushed highlights. So stick around. Okay, so let's talk about this project for a second here. We are going to be using acrylic for this project, and so I wanted to take a moment here. Let's talk about acrylic in general. Like I said when we were doing some watercolor paintings, acrylic is the best medium, in my opinion, to use because it is the most forgiving. So I should say it's the best medium for beginners. If you make a mistake, it's 100% okay. It can be painted right over. In fact, you could paint the whole painting a particular way and say, oh, I don't like it, so I'm going to start over and paint over the entire thing again and start over completely. So acrylics are definitely the way to go if you're a beginner. And because I spent so much time with acrylics, it is probably my favorite medium to use. So for today's project, we're going to be doing a painting that a friend of mine asked me to do, and basically it's kind of like the Beauty and the Beast painting of the rose. So in the glass case, we're going to be painting everything with acrylic, and then what we're going to do is at the end for the glass, I'm going to dig in my closet here and pull out the old airbrush, and we're going to put some highlights on the glass for like the reflection, and that'll be interesting. That'll be fun. I haven't used my airbrush in a while, so we'll go ahead and do that. But what I recommend is and this is something that I learned way back when, and I think it's a good suggestion, especially for beginners. The best thing to do, even still for me to this day, is that I'm looking at this canvas that I had done a basic sketch on, and it's still, even to this day, it's still intimidating for me to start painting. It's like, where do I want to start, and how do I want to do this? And I found that the majority of the time, the best thing to do is, and this is what somebody had told me one time, and I've gone with it, and it works, is to put a real light coat of paint in the colors that you want to use. So like for this painting, I would put a real light coat of acrylic painting, almost like a glaze, and a glaze is basically a really watered down paint. So it's semi-transparent. You can be able to see through it. So what I would do is I would put and what we're going to do is I'm going to put a real light coat of red here, and then the green and the background colors. And it's going to be basically going over everything, and that serves a couple different purposes. Like I said, number one is it's not quite as intimidating seeing that white canvas there, and for two, you're going to see when you put a light coat over top of your drawing, the pencil will basically be covered up a little bit, and it keeps it from the pencil from smudging or smearing, moving around. Kind of sets it there when you put that light coat over top of it, and you can still be able to see through it a little bit and be able to work certain areas and know where your pencil marks are. Now, like before, I did say that when you're working with acrylic, you typically will go from darker. You're darker, and then you put your darker in, and then you'll work your lighter layers up on top and build up on top of it like that. It's not a rule. You don't have to do that, but typically that's what I do. So, like I said, we'll put the light coat in. We'll start putting in the darker areas and start working that. Now, acrylic dries very fast, and which is a good thing and a bad thing. If you're trying to blend, a lot of times so let's say I was working up here, and then I would go down here and start working down here. Well, by the time I went back up here to start blending in some different colors, the paint's already dry. So there's a couple different things. You can use some, what they call it's a liquid, and it's an extender, and you can put some of that in your paint. But what I try to do is I try to work the area in, let it dry, and then go back in and work the area some more, let it dry. And if I need to go back in and add the same color back in that I had previously put down, I can put some of that color back in and then work in another color to blend. It's kind of maybe a little bit difficult to understand what I'm saying without seeing it, and you will see it here shortly. But that's how I paint in acrylics. Also, because acrylics dry so fast, your paint on your palette will dry. What I do is I will usually I'll take a paper towel and wet it and lay it over top of my palette, above, kind of not touching the paint but above the paint. And if it's the wet paper towel, not dripping wet, but just lightly wet, and that will keep it moist enough in there for the paint not to harden, and I can keep using it. Another thing that I do personally is when it comes to acrylics is I don't typically work with separate containers with the acrylics. Now, typically what I'll do is I have this ashtray that's very old, and you can see some of the dried paint on there. And what I'll do is I'll put my different colors, and I'll show you when I get the colors that I want to use inside here. But I'll put the colors inside here, and then I'll work within these colors and kind of blend and use the colors that I want. And like I said, if I do need to sit this down for any reason, if I need to take a break or whatever, then I'll set this down, and I'll cover the top here with a wet paper towel, and that'll keep everything from drying. Another good thing to have handy is a little squirt bottle with some water in it, like this one right here, which actually this little guy right here I think is not working all that great because the seal inside there broke, but it still squirts water. It doesn't really spray it, but like a mist, like it's supposed to. But usually I'll take that and I'll keep my paint. I'll spray it on there and mist it on my paint so that it keeps from drying in my palette. But what else can I tell you about acrylic? I think that pretty much covers it. You may ask, what kind of brand of acrylic that I'm using? And I'm going to be honest with you, I've used a bunch of different acrylics, and of course some of the name brand acrylics like Winsor and Newton, like this is the Winsor and Newton, and that those are nice paints, definitely very nice paints. With that being said, I also use very inexpensive paints, and in my opinion, they work really well. So this is System 3, same thing, the cadmium red, just like the Winsor Newton. And my thought process is, especially when you're just starting out with painting, is to buy the inexpensive stuff, and they work really well, and obviously it won't be as costly with the tubes like I just showed you of the paint, or even something like these type of paints where they're so these type of paints are okay to use. They are definitely more watered down, and they are definitely thinner to use. But if you're putting layers upon layers upon layers, these work pretty nice. And they're like I said, they're a lot cheaper. So, as far as the colors go, and I mean, they're like even just the Winsor and Newton and the System 3, like I was showing you. I'm sure that these cadmium red hue, which these both are not the same color red, but they'll both work. So if you need to change the color up at all and add some other colors in there, then that's not a problem, and you can achieve the same effect whether you're using a more expensive acrylic or a cheaper acrylic. So for me personally, I like to use a lot of the less expensive paint, and but again, if you willing to invest some money into the little bit better quality paint, then that's good too. So as far as brushes go, again, I have a huge assortment of brushes, and I've got brushes from really inexpensive brushes like this one, which is like very inexpensive, to some nicer brushes like this one. And there's definitely a lot of benefits to having a better brush, that's for sure. But can you paint with cheaper brushes? Absolutely. I did that for a really long time, and every once in a while I'll splurge and buy myself some nicer, more expensive brushes. But over the years, I've gotten a lot of jobs done by just using the really inexpensive brushes, like this one right here. This is, a lot of these brushes here are just, you buy them in packs, and they'll work. So I think that pretty much covers it. I'm going to get right in here and let's start laying in a real fine base coat and go from there. Hey, by the way, knock knock. Who's there? Irish. Irish who? I wish you a happy St. Patty's Day. Hey guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I just wanted to apologize for not having it done yesterday on St. Patty's Day. That was my intent, but I ended up having to stop, and it wasn't even for green beer. So, quick shout out to all the Irish people from. I hope you guys had a really great day yesterday, and more specifically, the Neils and Connie. I hope you guys had a great day, and you guys are awesome. So shout outs for you guys, and I hope to see you guys next time.